something I have been looking forward to. In 2014, that was last summer, we spoke to you all, I think kind of down the street, and we talked about our annual measurable objectives. Those are the goals that the state set for us based on how we had done the year before. And this was pretty much the slide that we showed you all last year. And those were the schools that we had in the district that met all of their achievement AMOs for 2014. And I won't read those off, you can see those. But let's go ahead 1 year. Those are the schools that we have in the district this year that met all of their achievement AMOs. And we're very, very proud of that, because if you look, those schools span the district from one end to another. And those schools, those teachers, those students have worked very hard for the 14-15 school year in order to meet those AMOs. So we're very, very proud of that. Wanted to share that with you. Now, when you talk graduation rate, a lot of people do not necessarily understand that graduation rate is not necessarily the same as dropout rate. When you look at a child who drops out of high school or drops out their sophomore year, and had to be their senior year when they turn 18, because we find out very quickly some states don't have the same dropout age as Tennessee does. Matter of fact, we lost a student who moved to Alabama. He was 16 and a half. The minute he turned 17, he quit. Well, guess what? That counted as a dropout for one of our high schools because he never enrolled past that high school that he had here in Robertson County. So we live with those rules, and so when you look at this projected graduation rate of 95.21, you need to know that. But you also need to know that we have students with severe disabilities. Some of our students that are not assessed with a state assessment except for portfolio. Some of these students are wheelchair bound, they're nonverbal. They do not necessarily have the same program as our kids that are assessed are. They do not count for our graduation rate. You might see them walk across the stage. You may see them get a diploma. It is not a diploma. The state of Tennessee does not recognize those students as graduates. I'll let you all know that as well. So when you look at the 5% that's not up there, you need to know that some of those students truly are students that walked across the stage. But because they were they have a severe disability and they are assessed in a different way, they do not receive a regular high school diploma. And so they are not counted in that 95%. We were very proud, considering when you look at 2012, it was pretty high to begin with, but we keep on making it quite a bit higher. And our graduation rates throughout the district range from 93%, that's the lowest. 93% is the lowest graduation rate, 92.99, I'll say that correctly, all the way up to 99%. So that is a testament to our counselors. Sometimes our counselors knock on doors. They do home checks to find out where kids go. But when you look at that, that is bar none above most districts in the state of Tennessee. When you do look at our what we used to call our TCAT data, and we won't go into that in great detail, but they did pull out, we talked about AMOs, and they pull out 3rd grade, and the state also pulls out 7th grade. And a lot of times we look at those proficiency numbers, and we look, boy, those are low. But I wanted to give you all, kind of make it all relative for you when you look at how we compare to the state. And our 3rd grade performed better than the state did in this past year in math and language arts. Our 7th grade actually did go down a little bit, but these 7th graders still actually did better than they were projected to do. So even though it is not, it's below the system, they actually scored higher than they were projected to do. And then 7th grade, we're right at about the state. We're maybe about 1% behind, but you can see those numbers right there. That's state numbers as well. So sometimes we tell our teachers, you know, we're in a boat, but it's a very, very large boat. And the rest of the kids are in it too across the state. This is one of the things we're very, very proud of when you look at our high school data and you look at our Algebra 1 and our Algebra 2, and you think Algebra 2, of course, we're way above the state there. But when you take our Algebra 2 scores for this past year and you put them in order from the best growth in the state to the worst growth in the state. And there are 160 districts, 142. I always get that. We were number 19 in the state in growth in Algebra 2. And we were higher than Williamson County in growth in Algebra 2. So that's very exciting. On English 2, you can see those. And in English 3, what a lot of people don't understand, you think, wow, that's a pretty low percentage compared to the rest of them. But we have a lot of our students in the system that take AP English. They're not included in that number. So you think about those students that are not taking English 3 because they're taking AP English and they don't take that test. So they're not included in that 42.3% there. Now in the future, we're going to get a little bit relief because those students are going to score pretty high on the ACT and they will be included in that number. But for this past year, they were not. This is something we're very proud of. And when we talk about ACT counts, Miss Kathy alluded to that earlier, and the prep classes that we have, those things have truly impacted the ACT scores in Robertson County. And if you look on 2013, and this is the graduating class, and what ACT does, they actually take the last test that the students took before they graduated. And in 2013, as a district, we were at 18.3. Now, the reason that seems low, 21 is a Hope Scholarship, okay? So our goal is to get as many students there, considering in Tennessee, we test every single junior on the ACT. So you can't compare us to Massachusetts. You can't compare us to some of these other states where the only students that take it are those students that are college bound. We test every junior in the state on ACT. So when you look at the growth, you will notice that for the last year, we hit 19.4 composite, which equaled the state average of 19.4. The number in parentheses is the state average when you include private schools. That's where we're going. That's where we want to go. We want to be compared to any school in the state of Tennessee, public or private. So you can see we had two schools actually for the past year made a full point growth. Joe Burns and East Robertson made 1 4/10 growth. But all of our schools, I know we've been talking about East Robertson for quite a while. For the past year, you'll see their growth. So we are, our teachers are working really hard at preparing our students for the ACT because ACT equals money in college. And that's the direction we go. But that's very proud. The second part about that is, though, now we are actually held not only for the composite score, which is the score all of us remember getting, but we're also held accountable for the 4 parts of the ACT. And you've got English, you have math, you have reading, and you have the social sciences, or you have science. So when you look at all 4 of those benchmarks, they actually have a score that they want the students to hit. It's 18 for English, 22 for reading, 22 for math, and 23 for science. If they hit that score, then ACT says that they've got a pretty good percentage of doing well at the college level for that particular subject. So our goal, and what ACT Counts does for us, and all of these other programs that we have going on, it rewards those students who meet at least 3 of those benchmarks. And of course, we're trying to get them to hit all 4. So you can see in the past, just the 2 years alone, for the past 3 times we've given the ACT, we've gone up 5%. And you can see what the state is as well. So we are this close to getting there. And we've made a lot of growth. And early numbers for ACT counts that we just had back on Labor Day are actually higher than they were the year before. And I do appreciate all of you all that are sitting in this room that gave money for that donated items for that. That was a huge, huge day. And the kids are already talking about next year. And about, I only met 2 benchmarks. I have to take that test again in order to hit that 3rd or that 4th benchmark. And what they don't really understand what they're doing, they're just giving their chances of a scholarship that much better. And it's very exciting to see that come to fruition. So 2014, this is the information that we gave you last year. If you remember it, if you were here, we have 2 different statuses that work together to make the 3rd one. And for the achievement status, we were in need of improvement. You saw the number of AMOs that we hit that year. it wasn't even 50%. And then our gap closure was in need of subgroup improvement, and then our final determination was in need of improvement. It was very huge lettering in bold, and we don't like to talk about it. Let's shift 1 year. Our achievement status was achieved. You saw those 10 AMOs. We hit 10 out of 11 AMOs. Okay, the only one we did not hit was 3 through 8 language arts, and those students actually still showed significant growth compared to what they were supposed to do. So we're very proud of that. Gap closure, we missed one. Now this is the one that'll keep you up at night. We have 14 gaps that we're held responsible for, and we have to close a gap between our students that are economically disadvantaged and those students that are not. We have to close the gap between our students that are identified as Black, Hispanic, and Native American